Alright, so recently Mr. Malloyan put out a video posting about why he liked Warmachine and Hordes and how he'd been playing it for 5 years, and that inspired me to make my own short little video here. Over the past 10 years or better, I think Warmachine itself released back in 2003, 2004. A buddy of mine, who shall remain nameless because he literally is a troll and never comes out of his house, showed me this rule book for Warmachine Prime that was in black and white with 1 or 2 colored pictures, and he and I both agreed, okay, well, we'll give the game a shot and see what happens. Well, that was 2003. Since then I've played several factions, to include Minoth, Khador, some mercs, some trolls, a little bit of Circle, and that was during Mark 1. The following with the deployment within the military, I sort of fell out of the hobby for a couple of years when Mark 2 was getting ready to come out and then released, and then did the cards and everything else. After I got back into it, after returning from overseas and getting my buddy to start playing again, we proceeded to, explore the game. I actually found a gaming group that was outside of just me and my friend that was, doing some of the competitive objectives, tournament style games. And I'll be honest, when I first stepped into that group, I was very, what's the word I want to use here, very concerned that I was going to meet the power gamers that I had heard about in Warhammer 40k or Warhammer Fantasy, or any other game where they Uberize their list. And yes, Uberize is a word, I just invented it. And I was really concerned that I was going to face that, and that I was going to get my teeth kicked in every single game, and that everybody was going to be dancing on my models' corpses, so to speak. Well, the first tournament I went to, the community was very inviting. They were very welcoming. I actually think the first event I went to was a fun event, the breast cancer brawl that they had. And ever since then, I've been going to that area and doing some games. And the community has been very inviting. I mean, if you want to throw something down on the table, there are people that will play you. And it doesn't matter if you're running a 35, 50, 75 point game. You could take what you consider to be a brilliant list, and the person you're playing may think it's a bad list, but they will never tell you that until you ask them, hey, I lost. I know why I lost. What do you think I can do better in the future so that I don't lose again? And I've been very, very pleased with the Warhammer community. I'm sorry, with the Warmachine community, in that they're very accepting of new people. They're very supportive of new people. You could have the ugliest painted models on the table, but you've made the effort. They will give you the what's the word I'm looking for here? They will give you kudos for having tried to paint your models, or actually having painted your models. And granted, they're never going to say that they're ugly. They're not going to say that to you. They may give you tips on, well, if you want to try dry brushing, this is how you do it. If you want to try shading or washes or that sort of stuff to improve your painting, this is how you would do that. They won't tell you directly to your face, this is the ugliest model I've ever seen on a medium-sized base, and you should just go die in a fire. They're not going to do that. And the community in both YouTube, the Warmachine community, everyone I've ever talked to as far as this hobby side of the game has been very positive and very helpful. When you ask for constructive criticism, you get it, and you don't get the trolls, even though I'm showing pictures of trolls as I'm doing this. You don't get the trolls up there saying, well, your stuff is terrible, you shouldn't play anymore, and you should just go back into your cave and paint ugly models. So over over 10 years that I've played this game, I've done conventions. Granted, it's been the smaller conventions in my state, but even at the conventions where you get a large area, like multi-state people coming in, the people have been very nice. They've been very inviting. I mean, you meet all sorts of people. I mean, given my chosen line of work, I would never meet 90% of the people that play this game that I've played games against, just because I wouldn't talk to them normally, because I don't fit into that world. But it seems like in the world of Warmachine and Hordes, when you go to a tournament, when you go to a convention, the community is so inviting and so polite that, you know, it's welcoming, and you can have a sit-down conversation over a cup of coffee about War Machine and Hordes, which may devolve into politics and that sort of stuff, but even if it does, you have people who are open and willing to communicate and not just point fingers and yell at each other. Now, let me be honest, there is the occasional asshat, or douchebag, or whatever term you want to use, but you know, those people are generally weeded out of the community. Or if you're going to a tournament and there's that one guy that everybody knows and you're the new player, a lot of the community that's there, if you're the new guy and they know you're the new guy, they'll look at you and pull you aside and say, look, this guy's a good guy, he means well, but he's a little bit of a pain when it comes to certain rules lawyering and, you know, movement and that sort of stuff, so just watch it when you play him. And in all honesty, those people, in my experience, don't last very long within this hobby, because they're weeded out, because we don't want them. We don't want those type people in this game if we can avoid having them within the community. But again, it's been over 10 years that I've been playing this game, and I've played through Mark 1 and now into Mark 2. There's murmurings of Mark 3 coming out, and at some point when Mark 3 does come out, I'll continue to play this game, simply because I enjoy it. I enjoy the hobby side of it. Granted, I'm starting to run low on models to paint, but that's a very easily remedied thing once you get some overtime at work. And it's an enjoyable, relaxing hobby. And, you know, to anyone out there who's looking into getting into this, it truly is worth your time and your money and your effort. And that's pretty much why I've gotten into War Machine Hordes and stayed in it. I mean, it's the only game that has held my interest for this long. Warhammer 40K did not. I mean, I enjoyed it, just like Malorian said, the big blocks of infantry from Fantasy, but I just couldn't keep up with the power curve on the models and you know, the yearly price increase from Games Workshop. But again, that's a separate matter. But really, in all honesty, I love this game. I can see myself playing this game for several more decades if it stays around and is popular for that long. And looking at it, it's been around 10 years now. It's or more than 10 years. It's probably going to continue to be around for a long time. And even if it dies off and there's only 4 or 5 people I know that play, so long as I can get up with those 4 or 5 people, I can play the game. We'll just use the last rule set we had and we'll go from there. I mean, people do it. But at any rate, post your comments below. Tell me why you love War Machine and Hordes. Make a video about it. Post it up on YouTube. You can't do video responses anymore, which is sad. But, you know, post it up. Say you did something about it as far as why you play this game. And I'll go take a look at it if you leave a link to it in the comments below. As always, keep on wargaming.